Hello. This is different. As I said last flight, we are not in Iran, but just for today. Next flight we'll be back in Iran and continue on our world tour. We are in São Paulo, Brazil. Yesterday, Microsoft released the first world update for Flight Simulator 2024, which is Brazil, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. And I am Brazilian and I really wanted to see. It's the first time we've had an update that focuses completely on countries of the global south. Took only 4 years for almost 5 for this to happen, while I understand market needs and etc. It is a bit too long, and I hope we'll have more focusing on places like Southern Asia, Africa, and so on. And today we're going to do a full flight from São Paulo to Rio. I was born in Rio and I live in São Paulo, so it's two places I know very well. And both cities have photogrammetry. As you can see, it does look a little weird at ground level, which is what I'm told photogrammetry can happen that can happen with photogrammetry at ground level, but from the sky it should look nice. And yeah, I think it does. From the little testing I've done before this flight. I don't have the most powerful computer, so I am a bit worried about performance in this flight, so I've turned off ATC, I've turned off AI traffic, I've turned off multiplayer, and so we're going to do this as light as possible. We're going to fly with autopilot. I've input a route here, no stars, no SIDS, no whatever, because I want to be able to do what I want, of course. And yeah, I guess I've already done the pre-takeoff checks. We don't need to ask permission. We are in runway at the threshold of runway 35 left, so let's do it. I do expect a lot of sound crackling because this definitely has to do with the simulator loading data, and there's a lot of data to be loaded for a large city like São Paulo and then later Rio. As you can see, once we change, the data comes streaming in, and but yeah, we're kind of holding in terms of FPS. So let's get to it, shall we? Autopilot is ready. Heading bug. Parking brakes, full power, let's go. We are taking off. It is a bit cloudy in São Paulo right now, which checks out. If the weather turns into a nuisance, I'll turn it off. I want to see it right. Oh god, yeah, this does look like São Paulo. It's weird. I'm going to do a little, how do you say it? A little tour through São Paulo. Kind of hand flying a little bit. So we'll fly slow. Let's see. It's the river, the Pinheiros River over there, and that should be the governor's palace, I think. Yeah, that's it. Palácio dos Bandeirantes, where the state governor lives. So from here, hold on just a tad. Anyway. This is such a large city, yeah. Oh my god. Feels weird too. It does look amazing from what I remember from the beginning of Flight Sim. Trying to get my bearings. So we're heading that's south, right? Yeah, we don't want south too much. What's that over there? That's the... Alright, this is Morumbi Stadium, I believe. And yeah, we're back to the governor's palace. Let's go a little bit west, northwest from here. River. And it's streaming data, so this is the west part of the city. This here should be the university campus. It is. I can't deny it, this is where I studied. And oh god, stop stuttering. Yeah, but that's the university next to the river. Yeah, that's it. This the clock tower of the university over there, which is one of my favorite places in the city. Yeah. Holy, oh god, look at this. I know some of these buildings. I definitely do. This is the west part of the city, where I currently live. Not gonna tell you exactly where, but this was something. Yeah, that was definitely something. Weird that you can't disable live weather apparently. Oh, you can. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that looks... Okay, yeah, I'll take that. We can see the city better now. If this looks unbelievably huge, you are right, it is unbelievably huge. And let me tell you, from the sky it looks... yeah. São Paulo is crossed by two main rivers. This is the Pinheiros, one of them, and we'll see the other at some point. We're heading to the city center. Yeah, that's the big history museum, o Museu do Ipiranga. This is technically where Brazil's independence was declared in 1822. That's the site, and there is a beautiful museum over there now. Before I go there, let's see what's over here. Bit of a shame that doesn't seem to be a landmark for the historic center of the city. Which should be more or less around here. Downtown São Paulo. Oh my god, I can't believe how nice this looks. Again, from the ground there will be problems, but from up here it's... I'm a little lost for words, really. Oh my god. Under this church, I know this church. Yeah, this is... This is definitely downtown São Paulo. Let's go to the museum. Further down there is the planetarium, but Yeah, this looks great. Looks very much like it does in real life with the gardens. And look at that. What is that way over there? And yeah, performance is actually fine. I'm surprised. Where are those? We're heading east. Maybe there are other airports nearby, maybe? Could be. I don't wonder. Oh, just because I said performance was fine. We are getting... See, I did it sharper turn than usual, and then the loading started to these are the dams right ahead, the dams that the reservoirs for most of the city. Guarapiranga. This is the southern part of São Paulo, more or less. This is one of the main roads that cuts the city from north to south. I'm gonna follow it just a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm just looking. It feels so So this area is a bit poorer. I mean, there are plenty of very, very poor and dangerous and difficult areas in São Paulo. This area near the dams is particularly pretty, but also complicated, you know. Let's turn around now. And go back over the city and then start heading towards Rio. And yes, this is really just one city. That's how large São Paulo is. And yeah. Get ready to set autopilot for a bit. This is fine when it comes to altitude, so just trim down. Look with the mouse a little bit. Yeah. Holy crap. I forgot to set QNH. I think QNH is 1021 or something. Congratulations to Microsoft, Zobo, and despite everything, this is something that you just can't experience anywhere else right now. It's unbelievable, completely unbelievable. Oh, that's a stadium for Corinthians, one of the big football teams in the city. Let's head over there, shall we? Has this stupid name, sorry, it's the sponsors, but most people know it as the Itaquerão. It's in the eastern part of the city. It's a recent stadium. It was built for the 2014 World Cup, so one of those. Again, pop-in is unavoidable, really. With my computer, it does look great. Really does. Was another landmark to the right, wasn't it? Let's see what it is. Wasn't there? Nope. Did I miss it? Oh, there. What's that? Should be. What is that? Why doesn't it just say? I'm right on top of you. Campo what? Anyway. Okay, enough. Let's go back to our route, such as it is. But I just couldn't resist doing this, you know. My city. I've lived here for 40 years now, so 45 years. So despite everything, all the issues of living in a big, wild place like this, it's still that's a little planetarium. It's not really a big landmark, I would say, but okay. Okay, back to heading mode and altitude. Actually going to say bye to São Paulo and start heading towards Rio. 100 degrees and we can start flying. Away from São Paulo and towards Rio, we go mostly, sorry, I just can't stop looking, to the southwest, to northwest. Northeast, sorry, northeast is the actual we're actually leaving São Paulo right now. Here, over there is the international airport, not the one we came from. Here is Guarulhos, which is a city in the metro area. And we are soon going to, I suppose I could climb a little bit more, I guess. Let's do it. Just to avoid the hills and the mountains. So the area between São Paulo and Rio, I mean, there we'll cross it, but it is the biggest, most important highway of the country in terms of cargo and passengers. That's the main connection, about 400 kilometers. It's also very urban, lots and lots of cities and places over there. And it was the area of, early exploitation by the Portuguese. So lots of sugar cane was planted here, and then lots of coffee. But these days, it's not the best. The soil isn't very fertile anymore. It was used so much throughout the centuries. So it's more about industries and distribution centers and whatnot. We are not too far from the sea. I don't know if we will be able to see it. Let me just... "5,000 feet should be fine." There's still some pockets of preserved woods over there. Very few, I should say, but maybe enough to give you an idea of what Brazil looked like a few centuries ago. São Paulo, of course, is a city that only began to grow in the 1850s and 60s. And especially so once slavery was abolished in Brazil in 1888, which was terribly late. We see lots of migrants from Europe and Japan. That's fine. don't need me to trim up. Do you? Shut up. This is the road that leads from São Paulo to Rio, I believe. Yeah. And we are heading more, we'll cross the seaway before we reach Rio. Let me switch tanks. I even forgot to turn off everything, so thanks. Pump. Can fly a little bit faster now. So this part of Brazil is, again, Brazil is very old. Yeah, now you want me to trim down, of course. Geologically speaking. So most of this area is not very tall and not very high hills and mountains, lots of erosion. It's very stable geologically as well. Brazil has no earthquakes, no serious earthquakes to worry about, no volcanoes, no nothing really. It's just we're probably now actually in the tropics. São Paulo is not a tropical city, despite what you might think. It's about 30 kilometers to the south of the Tropic of Capricorn. But now we're probably already past that line, since we're flying, well, we're kind of flying east more than north right now, but still. We'll pick up some. Actually, yeah. Maybe we're still subtropics, because we're not following the road. Like the road goes here and it goes much more to the north. We're following a bit closer to the coast, which should be prettier. Which is why I chose this route. Stop bothering me. What's the next waypoint? 107. There's no VNAV profile. I mean, other than the constant sound crackling, which I don't know if it's just not a fast enough internet or if it's caching in the SSD that's too slow or whatever, but again, there's no Brazilian server for Flight Simulator, so I have to connect to Eastern US, which is a decent enough ping considering the distance, but it's not exactly close. Let me just check something. Yeah, it's, since we're not using real weather, it's actually back to standard QNH. That's the real altitude. I guess we can get some pitot heat going on as well, just to be on the safe side. So as you can see, this area, it does look great though. It does look like I'm used to. I don't actually fly very much from São Paulo to Rio. When I have to go there, I usually drive because I enjoy driving and it's cheaper. But this is very much what southeastern Brazil looks like. The sea is over there. You're almost able to see. This, I believe, is, yeah, so probably won't be able to see, but over here where the main cities are next to the highways, this is a city called São José dos Campos, which is the main city between São Paulo and Rio. And if you're an aviation fan, you might know it because that's where Embraer is located, Brazil's aircraft manufacturer. Made quite a stir yesterday by announcing a business jet that will be released in flight sim until the end of the year. Not too much into biz jets myself, but it's nice to see official Embraer planes. I know there are a few unofficial ones, but I don't think they, at least as far as I know, they don't really they're not as faithful as it could be, so an official one should change that. And Embraer is an important company for Brazilians, even though it's partially owned by Boeing these days. It's one of the few large Brazilian companies that can actually compete in a global market, so most people here do like Embraer. So the factory, oh no, it's not unstable, don't do that to me. It's perfectly stable, I'm not losing. It's the first time I see this in flight sim. Seriously, my router says it's fine. The icon says it's fine. Don't you? There we go. Sorry about that. Don't know if it's the flight sim servers or if something actually happened to my connection, but here we are. Everything looks okay. So this river here that we can see to the left is the it's the main river in the area, the Paraíba do Sul. This whole area is called Vale do Paraíba, the Paraíba Valley. And again, there are very few, very, very small native settlements still in this area that survived the Europeans. But the names of the places like Paraíba and Guarapiranga are still mostly Tupi Guarani names. Yeah, it's streaming all the data now, so we're going to see another dam on the way. This dam is the Paraibuna, yeah. Again, the city I mentioned, São José dos Campos, is right over here. And the Paraibuna Dam is it's the main dam for this whole area. After Uremi, we go back to 99. So take a look at the dam. Rio is still about, probably 1 hour away. So if that's what you're interested in, you can skip it. But for Brazilians, I think this flight looks lovely, lovely, lovely. This is still the state of São Paulo. It's the eastern part. Brazil, of course, is starting to suffer the effects of climate change. This area is definitely getting hotter and drier. We're seeing less rain than average and higher temperatures. The long-term predictions, this dam looks amazing, sorry. The woods are still preserved more or less in the area. The long-term predictions for Brazil are very bleak. If things remain the way they're going, Brazil, which is one of the least water-stressed countries in the world, at least in average. Of course, there are semi-desertic areas in Brazil that are very water-stressed, but not here. Water has never been an issue for the southern part of Brazil. It is probably going to go through, if not a desertification, at least it's going to get much drier, which is a big problem because Brazil has immense subterranean water reservoirs. The hydrology of Brazil is a fascinating subject, if that's something that interests you. So scientists are very worried about what might happen in the next few decades or so. We've had a very hot summer so far. It didn't start very hot, but then it got really hot. And yeah, March is where it usually cools down a little bit and we get a lot of rain. I mean, most rain. The sea is already over there. We can even see a little bit in the map here, but we'll not get there just yet. The São Paulo beaches in this area are very famous. As you can see over here, the cities Caraguatatuba, Ubatuba are very famous beach resorts in the area. And so what happens is the rain comes from the east and the south, and then they hit this higher ground here and it rains. But lately things haven't been that simple. We've gone through very dry periods for unusual times of the year, which lead to forest fires, and yeah, those have been wildfires are becoming a very, very serious issue, not just here, but in actually most of Brazil in the past few years. So yeah. I'm still mostly stunned at the scenery. Okay, after Dorlu we're starting to go north, so it's going to be 84. So far I haven't felt the need to, actually. I've been lazy and letting the autopilot do the short radius turns that it can do. I've been a bad pilot and haven't looked at my instruments at all. I think they're okay. 13 GPH, nice map, RPM is fine, everything here, yeah, that should be turned off and on is, so yeah. These areas of the rolling hills are beautiful, absolutely beautiful in Brazil. We're actually going to go through a bit more wilderness. The cities are to the left, so we can just enjoy some nature, since this part is hilly and the highway goes through the valley over there, which is straight and level. So I'll shut up for a little bit and pick it back up after a while, once we get next to the sea or anything of note that I see. But so far, for now, we'll just cruise a little bit in silence. If you've reached this part and you're still following this, thank you very much. I'll be back soon. I do need to climb a little bit. Wanted to keep going on external view, but let's just clear this mountains here. This is called Serra do Mar, which literally translates to sea mountains. So should be fine at 6,000, I believe. You're already fine now. Just to make sure. Okay, 6,000 should get us over anything in our way. No, I don't need to trim up. It's going to pick up speed, yes. You can probably see the sea now, so I'll go back to the external view. So over here you can see the ocean. This is a city called Paraty, which is already in the Rio de Janeiro state. Old city, beautiful city. And it's become famous in the past few years because the Brazil's largest literary event takes place here every year, the International Book Fair of Paraty. lovely place to hold a book fair, if I do say so myself. And these mountains here, they divide the state of São Paulo and Rio. Which means that we'll soon start seeing the coast of Rio State. It's one of the most famous places in Brazil. Very beautiful beaches and mountains and etc. Of course, we're in the southern part of Brazil, and if you look at the map, if you haven't looked at the map, Brazil has one of the largest continuous seashores of any country, and the beaches are in general very nice, although they do change a lot as you go from the south to the north, as you would expect in the northeastern and northern parts of Brazil, since they're closer to the Caribbean and the Gulf Stream and the Atlantic Stream and whatnot. The water tends to be a little warmer and the wind's a bit stronger, whereas here it's still mostly cold waters, but again, it's great stuff. It's really great stuff. If you visit, and Brazil is a great place to visit, maybe not the best place to live, but to visit, it's definitely a great destination. Good infrastructure, mostly friendly people, and lots to see and do if you like nature, beaches, food. Also mountains. As you can see, it's not we don't have very tall mountains in general, but we do have very pretty mountains. And yeah, of course it is a quote-unquote developing country, and it has lots of issues, the main one being one of the highest rates of inequality in the world. So very few very rich people and a large majority of poor people who have little to look forward to in life, which leads to all the problems you can imagine. And of course lately, just like most of the world, at least the Western world, it's sharply divided politically. I really don't want to get into Brazilian politics in this video, but I could. And anyway, I'll just leave it at that. We are soon going to start having some very nice views. It's going to be 110. Which is here. And we'll start to follow the coastline of Rio de Janeiro, as we would say, towards the city. Once we clear these mountains, you'll start seeing stuff Brazil is famous for. Probably one of the most beautiful coastlines in the world. right now. Give you an external view. I mean, it really is breathtaking. This is, I believe, let me just double check. Yeah. This is the area between Paraty, as I mentioned, and Angra dos Reis, which is over there, which is the most famous beach resort in Rio State, other than Rio itself. Place where lots of rich and famous people have houses. This is Ilha Grande, which literally translates to big island, which is one of the most amazing destinations in this area. Should you be interested in visiting, I definitely would recommend Ilha Grande. You can only get here by boat, no cars allowed here, and it's amazing if you like beaches and nature and whatever. This area here, of course, is also great, but yeah. As you can see, we are really in a very, very special place. Let's get ready to do our turn, and now we're really heading straight towards Rio. The city, not too far right now, I think. $110, so we'll be able to see Angra dos Reis and Mangaratiba and all this beautiful place right now. Yeah, that's so about less than 100 miles now. Looks absolutely amazing. I cannot. I don't have words. So, Angra dos Reis means literally King's Creek or King's Cove or whatever. And King's is an interesting term, just to go a little bit into Brazilian history, a fact that most people here know, but maybe might be news to people who are not Brazilian, is that Brazil, of course, was colonized by Portugal since the 16th century. And as I mentioned earlier, it became independent in 1822. But Brazil's independence was very unorthodox compared to most other countries in the Americas, the United States or Canada or the rest of Latin America, Mexico, Haiti, Cuba, Argentina, etc. What happened in the early 19th century was Napoleon, of course. Napoleon rose to power in France, and he started his campaigns. And at that time, Portugal was allied to England and very dependent on England for trade and protection and defense. And once Napoleon invaded Spain and turned its attention to Portugal, the Portuguese king, Dom João VI, at the time, and his court, they actually fled. They left Portugal and came to Brazil and came to Rio, which was the capital of the colony at the time. So for a couple of decades, Brazil was actually the ruling part of the Portuguese Empire, which of course had still lots of territories in Africa and Asia, and Brazil, of course. So here you can see Angra dos Reis, which was, again, named after the kings. And it was a very interesting time in Brazilian history because the nobility, it wasn't only the king, as I said, it was the court. So most of Portugal's nobles followed suit and came to Brazil with the king, and they sort of they of course wanted to keep the court as it was, but you're not doing it in a European temperate climate. You came to Rio. Rio is very hot, it's very tropical. It's back then, and of course still, but much more back then, full of tropical diseases and different foods and etc. So the cultural clash between the Portuguese nobility and what they found in Rio, and of course slavery everywhere, millions and millions of enslaved African people here in Brazil. It's a fascinating period. And what happened is, after Napoleon went down in Europe, the Portuguese king returned to Portugal, but he left his son here. And it was his son, Pedra, who actually declared Brazilian independence in 1822. So Brazil was the only country in the Americas that, after becoming independent, it remained being a monarchy. It didn't turn into a republic like the United States or or Mexico or every other Latin American country. Brazil became an empire, actually, the Empire of Brazil, which was ruled by the Prince of Portugal, but it was independent. And eventually Dom Pedro had to renounce the Portuguese crown, and we spent most of the 19th century being ruled by emperors, Dom Pedro I and then his son, Dom Pedro II, until a military coup in 1889 proclaimed the Brazilian Republic, the first of several military coups we've had. It's a threat that oh my God, look at this, is always present in Brazilian politics. We've had a coup attempt a few years ago. Thankfully, didn't go forward, but the army and the military have always been a very active player in Brazilian politics, so, and that causes a lot of peculiar issues. Where are we now? Yeah, this is Angra dos Reis, the city itself. As you can see, there is a little airport, and again, lots of very expensive houses and hotels and resorts over here. Let me go back to external view, enough of Brazilian history. Otherwise, I'm gonna get into politics. I don't want to get into the politics. So yeah, you could be at one of those beaches now. I could be at one of those beaches now, but we aren't. And yeah, that's Ilha Grande, again, the big island. And once we clear this, we are going to start approaching the, yeah, Sepetiba. And after this bay, we're going to start actually to prepare to land in Rio. Again, props to Adobe and Microsoft. This looks fantastic. And if you do have Flight Simulator, I guess I can easily recommend taking your favorite aircraft and flying over not only this area, but most of Brazil, I believe, has been enhanced. I am not using any mods for Brazil. I mean, we do have Bijan's mod for vegetation, so maybe it's a bit changed from what you see. We're going to land at Santos Dumont, which is the, again, like Congonhas is the smaller airport in São Paulo, but it's right in the middle of the city, whereas Guarulhos is the big international airport, but it's far from the city. The same happens in Rio. We have two airports, Santos Dumont, which is the older airport, but right in the middle of the city, so it has a small runway, so big jets can't land there anymore. And there's also Galeão, which is the big international airport, but it's in a not as pretty place. So we prefer to land in Santos Dumont. Of course, just to go back to Brazilian history a little bit, and aviation history, I mentioned Santos Dumont, and Santos Dumont is Brazil's pioneer of aviation, who most Brazilians will tell you invented the airplane, which is a claim that contradicts the official narrative, which has the Wright brothers, credits the Wright brothers with inventing the airplanes in Kitty Hawk. You know this. If you're American or European, you probably know the story. But at the same time, they were developing their aircraft. In the United States, Santos Dumont was developing his. Only he lived in Paris, not in Brazil. But he was Brazilian, and that's the main thing. Santos Dumont was kind of a celebrity in Paris, because he also developed balloons and, you know, every kind of aircraft possible in those days, and he did it in public, so people saw him flying over the city and etc. Whereas the Wright brothers did their thing mostly privately and only revealed what they did later. As far as I understand it, the official history is a bit of a compromise, as in, yes, the Wright brothers were the first to fly a heavier than air aircraft under its power with the Wright Flyer, but Santos Dumont and his 14 bis, the 14 bis, was the first to do what we actually consider a flight, as in taking off, flying and landing under its own power, which his aircraft did, and the Wright brothers didn't, at least at first. The Wright Flyer didn't take off under its own power. It was sort of launched into the sky and then it flew. But Santos Dumont actually did a full takeoff, a little bit of flying, hovering around the ground, and then landing in the 14 bis. And he did it in the middle of Paris, so thousands of people saw it, whereas very few people saw what the Wright brothers were doing. Again, I think it works as a compromise. I don't really have a horse in this race. I don't really care that much, but if you talk to a Brazilian about aviation, you better know who Santos Dumont was, or people might get offended. No, I'm joking. Most people don't care either, but he is one of Brazil's heroes in a way. Of course, he later came back to Brazil and developed other kinds of aircraft and lived in a city not far from Rio called Petrópolis and died over there. So this is Sepetiba, another bay on the way to Rio. That's Mangaratiba here, another resort, beach resort over there. And over those mountains we'll start getting to our destination, which is the city of Rio itself. 118 for our next waypoint. I will not follow any approach to the airport. I'll just land manually, and I suppose I should just, that's not it, that's definitely not it. Clear. Of course, it's sea level, and we'll be landing at runway 2, either right or left, wherever. Again, it's a short runway, only 4,000 feet. That's what makes this challenging. I believe it's actually one of the new landing challenges in this world update, to land at Santos Dumont. We'll see how we go. I mean, the Comanche doesn't need much to stop, but it does tend to float a bit. If you follow my flights, you're aware of it. So we'll see. We'll approach from the sea, which is the prettier approach. I mean, we can start seeing the real landmarks being hinted at over there, which should be, there should be a lot of landmarks. Rio is, oh my God, it's such a beautiful city, but it's so complicated. Again, fantastic place to visit. If you have a chance to spend 1 or 2 weeks in Rio, you really should go. Stay in the touristic spots and you'll be fine. It's really mostly beautiful and safe. Just don't stray from those parts, because then things can get hairy. Again, it's a very unequal city and with a very long tradition of bad government in all levels, city, state, and federal, which have left their mark in this fantastic place, unfortunately. But again, it is famous for a reason, and in terms of natural features, there are very, very few places in the world that compare to Rio de Janeiro. And yeah, anyway, so see, here is, we're already getting to the metro area of Rio. This is here, the airport is here, and we then go from the sea to here. The Guanabara Bay, of course, is the name of the bay where Rio is located. Of course, Rio was the Brazilian capital until 1960, when Brasilia was built and inaugurated in the center of Brazil as a sort of development project for that area, which, as economic development goes, it worked, but it also changed Brazilian politics very much, because Brasilia, as a planned city and a city planned to be the seat of government, it became a city of politicians and public servants, which kind of, I guess, warps a little bit the perception of people who live there as compared to being a politician in Rio, where you get a sort of more more accurate sample, I suppose, of Brazil's population as a whole. Brasilia became a rich city. People tend to have high salaries over there, and of course the metro area of Brasilia is where the poor people live, who serve the rich people in Brasilia, but it's far away and it's easier to ignore those people than it would be in Rio. Not really saying the capital should go back to Rio, I don't really care, and I haven't really thought this through, but it did change things. The Brazilian political class became more isolated and more self-contained over there, which leads to some distortions in terms of political representation, so to speak. But anyway, next turn, and yeah, I'll start descending actually. Next waypoint is really close, and then 122. And let's got power. and descend to 2,000 feet, more or less. Again, I hope the performance will be fine. There should be a lot more audio crackling. I'm sorry. Again, another photogrammetry city. Lots of terrain to load. And just change fuel tanks again. Didn't turn on fuel pump, but yeah, should be fine. So once we cross these mountains, we'll already be at Rio, the city itself. So this area here is the southernmost part of Rio. At least here is one of the richest parts of Rio. We'll see once it's called Barra da Tijuca, which is not in the main. I mean, the main city is over those mountains over there. So here's the Sugarloaf and Christ the Redeemer, and everything you know about Rio is over here. This is not very famous in terms of natural attractions, but they are nice beaches, and most of Rio's rich people live here, so they can get away from the mess that is the main city, although the southern part of the Guanabara Bay is also very rich, and the famous places you've heard about, Copacabana and Ipanema and etc. Ipanema, as we say here, they're all over here. This is Barra da Tijuca, is less known as a touristic place, but it is a wealthy area. Oh God, please behave. Still have some time to descend. Don't know what this point right in the middle of the sea is. Switch to external view for a bit so you can see the Recreio dos Bandeirantes, which is this further area over here, and then Barra da Tijuca. It's loading the terrain over there, the mountains, the real mountains. Let's descend a little bit faster. It shouldn't be this sharp. I guess it will smooth once you get closer. So the next turn is the sharp one. Oh my God, look at this. Can turn on landing lights and the fuel pump. And over here is the famous part of Rio, the Ipanema, Copacabana, Leblon, what we call the south side, and the landmarks are all mostly over there. So we'll get to see them as we turn. You see it slowly. And that's what makes Rio special, those mountains right next to the coast and the beaches and etc. And here you get the city as we know it. Got into an ILS here, I don't know why. Anyway, but that's the ILS for Galeão, the international airport, not the one we're going to. There's no ILS here. This is great. This is absolutely great. Yeah, that's Pedra da Gávea. Okay, enough. Altitude hold for a bit, a little bit more power, but I want to already be at dropping gear speed, so Christ is over here, and that's the sugar loaf. We can already see it, although I don't remember what this is, so I guess we'll see. Give you an external view for a bit. So here, get Ipanema and the lagoon, the Rodrigo de Freitas lagoon over here. The sugar loaf is easy to see now. This is definitely where the Christ is, the Corcovado. There's a lighthouse, of course. Farol de Ilha Rasa. The airport's over here, so we'll kind of go in through the entrance of the bay, so we get to see it all. Speed is fine. Let's hope I don't botch this landing. Yeah, so yeah, this is real. It looks fantastic. Stop bothering me with trim. I'm not gonna care. Right, I'll trim up just a little bit, since we'll need it anyway. We'll get to see the lighthouse, and then we'll turn. I don't think I've ever been to that lighthouse, to be honest. I don't know if you can visit it. Final turn with autopilot. And then we'll get ready to land. So yeah, now you can see everything. Let me prepare to be a pilot again. I swear my hands are actually shaking a little bit. This over here is, just to confirm, but it is Niterói, which is the city on the other side of the bay. There's a big bridge connecting both the cities, and yeah, I swear my hands are shaking a little bit. Let's drop the gear. Full props, full mixture. Yeah, we can trim up and get flaps going. Just turn off autopilot and hand fly this, shall we? So that in front of us is Niterói. Rio is there, or Sugarloaf. It should load the terrain once we turn, and we should be fine. Pão de açúcar, the Sugarloaf, which, if you are not familiar, it's not actually bread at all. It's just a big hunk of sugar from the first refining of sugar cane in the sugar making process. So yeah, again, Brazil was and still is known for sugar. Let's start turning. So this is the northern side of the bay. You can see parts of the bridge over there. here's the Sugarloaf. More flaps. The airport is, you see, you have to kind of fly towards the Sugarloaf and then turn, because the runway is here. It's a difficult landing, especially when you want to see the scenery and not where you're going. But yeah, we won't be able to see the Christ from here, but to skirt the Sugarloaf at the cathedral over here. You can see this weird building. It's a modernist building, nice one. Although if you want to see a modernist cathedral, you should go to Brasilia. It has one of the most beautiful churches in the world, the Brazilian cathedral. And here is the airport, see? There. So coming from here, you get to see the whole thing, the beaches, Leblon, Ipanema, Copacabana, and this is Urca, the Sugarloaf. Christ is over there, but I don't think it will render. Or maybe it's here, I don't know. I think it's here. And the Jockey Club, I believe, over here. Look at this, man. Oh my god. Okay, 1,000 feet. Speed is high. Trim up. Less power. You will forgive me if I hit the mountain. Yeah, there's the Christ. You can see it over here. Okay. Land. Gotta land. Gotta land. So here's the airport. And yes, if you come to Rio, you can also land here. Although not if you come. This doesn't take international flights. You have to come from somewhere else in Brazil. Oh god, okay. Flaps. All the flaps. And as you can see, it's a very short run. Oh god. Turn the plane off. Trim up. There's a museum over there on the side and the boat. Okay, either one is fine. Let's go for this one, not for the left one. So the Christ is over there. Oh god, this is such a difficult landing. Imagine doing this with a bigger plane on real weather. We're not. Oh, it looks fantastic. Okay. Threshold. Stop loading stuff. Let me land. We're fine. Very nice. I did it. We are in Rio. Oh my god. What a flight. What a landing. Oh my goodness. I'm actually shaking. I'm sorry. It is so weird. Yeah, the airport is huge. Turn over here, I guess. Doesn't matter. Let's take a look at it. Performance feels actually fine. I don't know where I want to land, but yeah, here it is. Santos Dumont Airport, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Again, from the ground, photogrammetry starts showing these issues, but from the air, man, it was just... Yeah, the Latam building, the Christ over there. Oh God, I'm so excited. A little bit more power. Anyway, whether you stuck with me for this whole flight, almost 2 hours, or if you just came for the landing, thank you so much. Next time, I'll just stop here. I don't care. You just get the external view. And yeah, the lawyers union building here. Thank you so much for watching. Next time we'll go back to Iran, we'll go back to our regular schedule. But again, here we are in Rio. If you can come in real life, you should. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.